Ministers at Al Baraka Palace. His Majesty approves establishing 2 pension funds, amending the minimum range for required service period for early retirement to be 30 years and making unified retirement system for the newly employed. And a number of the Excellencies, the ambassadors, take the oath at Al Baraka Palace before His Majesty the Sultan. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq presided over the meeting of the Council of Ministers today at Al Baraka Palace. His Majesty started the meeting by thanking the Almighty Allah for the blessings bestowed upon Oman and its people, praying to the Almighty Allah to continue stability and security on this beloved country. His Majesty the Sultan then reviewed regional and international situations and valued efforts for everyone who participated in preparing the Oman Vision 2040, especially the members of the main committee and technical committee and other sectoral committees, citizens and other state establishments. In light of the achieved results, His Majesty Sultan Haitham approved the launching of Future Vision 2040, adding that the vision is a summary of national effort and social consensus, and that its success is the responsibility for everyone. His Majesty affirmed on the necessity of directing all the efforts and resources to achieve goals and programs of fiscal balance, develop regulations related to investments, facilitating and speeding up governmental services, developing economic zones and mega projects, along with developing national capabilities and linking these efforts with recruiting citizens, considering them one of the main national priorities. In his regard, His Majesty clarified the continuous keenness of the government through the upcoming 5-year plans to achieve the goals and priorities of the Oman Vision 2040. His Majesty also pointed out that he followed with full attention the stages of the 10th 5-year plan, Development Plan 2021-2025, and the state's general budget for the fiscal year 2021, which is considered the initial implementation plans of the Oman Vision 2040. And it came in line with the financial situation witnessed by the Sultanate. The focus was ensuring the financial sustainability through rationalizing expenditure and increasing the revenues. He also stressed that the drafts of the plan and the budget will represent a launching point for economic and social sustainability, as well as achieving new and continuous growth rates. After getting acquainted with the observations and recommendations of the State and Shura Councils through their duties of the plan and the budget, His Majesty emphasized that the State and Shura Councils are the main partners in the development process, and their efforts are within the public interest and side by side with the government's role and various other sectors. He also stressed on the significance of enhancing cooperation and partnership between the government and the Council of Oman. Within the framework of His Majesty's keenness to achieve financial efficiency and sustainability for the pension funds and the challenges that it faces, His Majesty approved the following recommendations. Establishment of 2 pension funds, first for civil and private sectors, and second for the affiliates of military and security funds. 2, amendment of the minimum years of services required to be eligible for early retirement in all the applicable systems to be 30 years of service. 3, putting up a unified retirement system for the new affiliates in all the government units and private sector, the effect of which will return to the employees who did not complete 10 years of the required period to be eligible for retirement pension. Within His Majesty's keenness towards enhancing the digital efficiency and preparedness as well as electronic government, His Majesty stressed on the following up the efforts exerted by the government in this regard, with the aim to facilitate the procedures to achieve the aspirations of citizens, residents, businessmen and investors, besides enabling strategic economic and development sectors in the Sultanate. His Majesty the Sultan issued directives to implement unified national portal for e-government services. His Majesty then reviewed the efforts exerted by the bodies concerned, topped by the Supreme Committee charged with dealing with the developments resulted from the spread of COVID-19 and limit its effects on health, social and economic sectors, along with efforts exerted to acquire the vaccine in coordination with Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, World Health Organization and companies that succeeded in producing the vaccine suitable for this virus. His Majesty also affirmed on the importance of intensifying all the efforts on social and economic recovery from the adverse effects of the pandemic. In this regard, His Majesty Sultan Haitham issued a decision to merge the Supreme Committee charged with dealing with the developments resulted the spread of COVID-19 with the committee concerned with dealing with economic developments resulted from the COVID-19 pandemic. Within the framework of His Majesty the Sultan keenness on the importance of communication between officials and citizens and various civil society establishments, His Majesty directed the Excellencies, the governors, and with the attendance of the Excellencies, the Walis, to conduct periodical meetings with sheikhs, dignitaries and citizens in their respective wilayats. On the foreign level, His Majesty the Sultan emphasized on the continuation of the Sultan's policy to be based on friendly neighborhood, friendship and cooperation with all, as he pointed out that the Sultan's permanent neutral approach and not to interfere in the affairs of others. In this regard, His Majesty praised the initiative of late His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Jabr Sabah, Emir of the State of Kuwait, may Allah rest his soul in peace, on the State of Kuwait's endeavor to bring closer points of view between some Gulf Cooperation Council countries, which resulted in the agreement to take positive steps to find way out from the misunderstandings and work towards the unified Gulf. His Majesty stressed on the continuous keenness of the Sultans to support the efforts to bring the GCC countries closer. At the end of the meeting, His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq focused on the issues related to the citizens and the country, wishing all the very best in achieving progress and prosperity for the beloved Oman and its loyal people. Before His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, a number of the Excellencies, ambassadors, took the oath at Al Baraka Palace this morning. The oath was performed by His Highness Sayyid Faisal bin Turki bin Mahmoud Al Said, the Sultan's ambassador to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the Sultan's permanent representative to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. His Excellency Sayyid Dr. Ahmed bin Hilal bin Saud Al Busaidi, the Sultan's ambassador to the United Arab Emirates. His Excellency Abdullah bin Nasser bin Muslim Al Rahbi, the Sultan's ambassador to the Arab Republic of Egypt and the Sultan's permanent representative to the Arab League. His Excellency Musa bin Hamdan bin Musa Al Tai, the Sultan's ambassador to the United States of America. And His Excellency Sheikh Hilal bin Marhoon bin Salim Al Ma'mari, the Sultan's ambassador to the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. It was attended by His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Busaidi, Foreign Minister. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq sent cable of greetings to His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain on his country's 49th National Day. His Majesty the Sultan sent similar cable to His Excellency President Kasim Jomart Tokayev of the Republic of Kazakhstan on his country's National Day. His Highness Sayyid the Yazan bin Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, Minister of Culture, Sports and Youth, received each of the following separately. His Royal Highness Emir Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Saud, Minister of Sports and Youth and Chairman of the Saudi Olympic Committee. His Highness Sheikh Juan bin Hamad Al Thani, Chairman of Qatari Olympic Committee. And His Excellency Sheikh Ahmed Al Fahad Al Sabah, Chairman of Asian Olympic Committee. During the meetings, they discussed enhancing aspects of joint cooperation in the fields of sports and ways to develop them, in addition to the preparations that were made regarding holding of General Assembly of Asian Olympic Council in the Sultanate. The 39th meeting of the General Assembly of the Olympic Council of Asia will be held tomorrow in the Sultanate, with the organized from the Omani Olympics Committee and a wide participation from Asian countries, with the presence of sports personalities on both international and continental levels. Representatives from 45 National Olympics Committee from Asia will take part in the meeting. There will be 2 press conferences, the first of which will reveal on the country which will hold the Asian Games 2030. The second one will focus on the meeting of the Olympics Council of Asia to announce the decisions that were taken. A press conference was held yesterday at the Ministry of Interior to highlight the outcome of the e-Census 2020, presided over by His Excellency Sayyid Hamoud bin Faisal Al Busaidi, Minister of the Interior, in the presence of media men and journalists. More details in the following report.
Following His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq's endorsement of Census 2020, Sayyid Hamoud bin Faisal Al Busaidi, Minister of Interior and Head of the Supreme National Committee of Electronic Census 2020, addressed reporters at a press conference. His Excellency Sayyid Hamoud said that an important national work had been accomplished. With this, the Sultanate presents a pioneering model in the experience of moving from the traditional method of conducting census to electronic census. On the occasion, the minister also launched the e-Census 2020 e-portal. He informed that the electronic census of population, housings and establishments 2020 was conducted with minimum staff. Only 74 employees were engaged in the exercise. He added that there was a significant reduction in terms of both human resources and financial cost of census 2020. The Sultanate's population has reached 4,471,148 in 2020, an increase of 61% over the figure of 2,773,479 registered in 2010. He said the number of Omanis now stands at 2,731,456, while 1,739,692 are expatriates. There has been a 40% increase in the number of Omani citizens during the last 10 years. Compared to the population census of 2010 and 113% rise in the expatriate population in the same period. Sayyid Hamoud said that the number of Omani families increased by 55% to 406,303 compared to 206,120 in 2010, while residential units now stands at 1,312,327, which is a 79% increase compared to 731,968 in 2010. Muscat recorded the highest population of 1,302,440, a 79% increase from 2010 when it was 775,878. Said Hamoud added that the census provides the groundwork for integration and interconnection of the databases of the government and private sectors.
E-census, when we say e-census, many countries, when they conduct census, they depend on two ways of the methodology. The first methodology, which is called traditional census or registration-based census. So Oman, this time, they take a decision to do based off the registration census, which is collecting the data, the registration from government entity. So each government entity, they have information and registration about people, about building, about establishment, and even in the private sector. We have pulled these data to the NCSI to use them for our e-census. The benefit really for e-census will help a lot for Vision Oman 2040, and even will help families and researchers, university. Even those data will be used as a KPIs for many sectors, economic sectors, and even social sectors.
While the COVID-19 pandemic continues wreaking havoc across the globe, disrupting various public and private sectors' activities, the work of electronic census continued and completed. The electronic census, which is the first of its kind in the Sultanate after the previous census based on the field work, the high-quality database integrated and electronically linked data related to findings of about the current state and development of the population, economy, society, education, research, and many other areas will indeed assist in meeting the vision of 2040. Abdullah bin Ahmed al-Rubai, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
The Sultanate condemned today the attack on the oil tanker off the port of Jeddah in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that occurred yesterday. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement that the Sultanate affirmed its solidarity with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in facing actions that target its security, stability, freedom and safety of the maritime navigation. To come on News Bulletin. Australia is enjoying a second month with no new COVID-19 cases recorded in the country. Welcome back to news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Ministry of Health reported that the total number of coronavirus COVID-19 registered in the Sultanate reached 226,719 cases, with 1,475 deaths. The total recovery cases reached 118,505, which is 93.5% of the total cases reported so far. The ministry indicated that the total number of the inpatients in hospitals reached 115, including 54 in intensive care units, ICUs. The national survey on COVID-19 vaccines began today. More details in the following report.
3,000 Omanis and expatriates in the country have been selected at random to participate in the national COVID-19 vaccine survey, which began today. The survey has been launched to understand people's attitudes and practices concerning COVID-19 and the associated vaccine.
I'm sure that COVID-19 vaccine is very important for us, but at the moment the public needs more information about this vaccine from the Ministry of Health. And I trust that many of us will take this vaccine if they are giving more information about its safety.
The purpose of this survey is to assess knowledge, attitude, and the practice of the community toward COVID-19 vaccine to reduce the effect of wrong information. The survey also will promote scientifically based information and refuting the misinformation and rumors by identifying the extent to which the member of the community know about the vaccine. We trust many will respond to our phone call, and thank you for your participation.
The survey is being implemented by the Ministry of Health, represented by the Directorate General for Disease Surveillance and Control, in cooperation with the National Center for Statistics and Information and a number of other stakeholders. These people will participate in the survey to limit the effects of incorrect information about epidemic by getting closer to an understanding society, enhancing the accuracy of information provided.
The Asiad Group announced the success of 2 experiments using 5G technology to provide solutions for monitoring system in the dry dock in Duqm. The 5th generation technology will be used in smart monitoring operations and cover the facilities of the dry dock in Duqm, in addition to provide a sophisticated surveillance system that will serve the customers and partners in various global shipping companies. These experiments came within the framework of the cooperation between Asiad Group and Omantel to benefit from solutions of information technology and communications, as well as to utilize them in the development of operations and services of the group. The first edition of OMC Films Award witnessed a crowning of the film Distress. More details in the following report.
Out of 27 entries qualified to the final round of the competition, the film Distress was crowned the best integrated film in the first edition of OMC Films Award.
عمق Film Award, عمق as an SMEs, it's a small firm that bring to us a big award for films. It's for amateurs right now. I hope inshallah in the future it will become for professionals. This will anchor the filmmaking business in the future. It will make it more successful, and these amateurs now who produce these small films, I am sure they will find their ways to make it more economical and more flourishing and more artistic, inshallah.
I cannot tell you how I feel about this now. I'm actually blown away by the atmosphere, by everything, actually. I still don't believe it. I would like to thank the boys there. They basically did all the job, and I really thank them.
Among the winners of the first edition of عمق Films Award was the film سياج بلا ظل, which won the Best Idea Award, while the film Hamid Kar grabbed the Incentive Award.
This is a motivation for me and for our crew. We planning to produce more films, short films, and not only the short films. Actually, our ambitious go for national to produce international films, cinematic films, and actually now we are assisting a company for producing such films.
At the end of the ceremony, the winning films were showcased, revealing the remarkable skills and techniques of the talented Omani filmmakers. عمق Films Award constitutes a keen endeavor to foster the potentials of the passionate Omani filmmakers to produce top-notch films that can compete regionally and globally. صالح بخلفان الرحبي, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
Petroleum Development Oman PDO signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a central facility for the management and disposal of naturally occurring radioactive materials norm in partnership with the Ministry of Energy and Minerals, Environment Authority and Oman Environmental Services Holding Company. The projects will work on the managing this type of waste, saving around $4 million annually, which is used for exporting waste outside the Sultanate in order to dispose of it. The project will also help setting up guiding principles for radioactive materials management, which go in line with internationally recognized principles and the best practices in this regard. And Australia is spending the second month in a row without local transmission of coronavirus. Meanwhile, the Australian states are preparing to open the local borders by the beginning of the new year. More details in the following report.
Australia is reopening the local borders between its 8 major states and territories after the lockdown over the past few months, which resulted in complete control of the outbreak of coronavirus. The state of Victoria joined the other states in recording 0 cases during the past 2 months, after a hard lockdown which has led to minimizing the local transmission of infections. It is now set for gradual relifting of the restrictions.
It's pretty nice. It's normal life. Well, I think the procedures have been really good, and I think all the stages have been great.
The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced that the local governments of the states agreed to reopen their local borders in preparation for receiving visitors locally by the new year, while the federal government adhered to its decision to keep the ban on international borders in effect until the first quarter of next year.
We agreed in principle with the reopening framework for Australia by Christmas. Certainly 7 out of the 8 states and territories will be open, and that'll be a great day for Australia. You never know. It might be 8.
Meanwhile, Australians can now enjoy social activities and local tourism, as Australia has not recorded any COVID-19 new cases in the past weeks, becoming one of the countries free of local transmission in the current time. Musa bin Jafar Lawati from Melbourne, Australia.
You're watching this Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq presides over the meeting of the Council of Ministers at Al Baraka Palace. His Majesty approves establishing 2 pension funds, amending the minimum range for required service period of early retirement to be 30 years and making unified retirement system for the newly employed. And a number of the Excellencies, the ambassadors, take the oath at Al Baraka Palace before His Majesty the Sultan. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here in the newsroom and the studios, good night.